Hi everyone, it's Rax. Today I did something pretty cool. I hit level 100 on all 5 classes, so I've been blasting since the start. And one thing that I did not do is I did not get boosted. I did not just sit there while a bunch of 100s ran me through Nightmare Dungeon 50. I leveled up, not just myself, I leveled up in groups, but I made sure everybody was at my level, or sometimes I played by myself. And to make sure that I got the actual experience of progressing my character and how difficult it was and actually learning about the classes. So I just like to go through and talk about each class and my experiences on them. One full playthrough to 100 does not make you an expert on anything, but I do think I will have at least somewhat of an idea of how to compare the classes and see what they're good at and my thoughts on them going forward. So let's start with my favorite class, Barbarian. This is the class overall that I have played the most. It's the class that I started on in Diablo 4 and raised to 100 on. I've played everything on Barb before. I've played Rend, I've played Whirlwind, and Whirlwind has gotten nerfed a million times. Played Upheaval. Upheaval used to be the best build in the game for any class by far. And Upheaval Barb was worth 10 of any other class at one point in the Blizzard testing, but that build is long gone for many, many different reasons. Maybe it'll come back in Season 1. I played Hoda. Barbarians, unfortunately, were plagued by a lot of bugs, and spoiler alert, there's another bug that's going to be fixed for Barbs, which is going to nerf them again, which is where the Hoda Shockwave does more damage on the outside than it does way more damage than intended. When that gets fixed, that's going to hurt. They nerfed the shout cooldown, and they made it's very hard to find the shout ring, and they nerfed the shout ring, and keeping your shouts up all the time is very difficult. Believe it or not, despite all of these things, I actually think going forward in the game, Barbs are going to continue to be one of the best classes. Right now, in the end game, they're probably one of the worst, because they've been nerfed so many times. There were so many bugs, which, by the way, a lot of them were reported on the beta, but they didn't get fixed. If you're going against Uber Lilith, Barbarians certainly can't kill her in one shatter combo. Barbarians can't poison imbue her down, or anything like that. And Nightmare Dungeon 100 is not trivial for Barbarians anyway. However, despite all of that, I still have faith in the Barbarian going forward. The extra legendary aspects on your gear, it's just going to make them overall pretty good. If we can find any ways in the future to gain any more CDR, if Blizzard would stop nerfing it, having the permanent shouts will help us. And another thing that Blizzard might do is they might move away from this gameplay where we are taking all the shouts. And I think the easier way to do that than just nerfing the shouts over and over into oblivion is to make the other skills more worthwhile. You know, we take some of the other ones, like maybe Iron Skin, or sometimes people take Kick, or people are messing around with Death Blow, but it really isn't a great reason to take the other skills. If you give us a reason, then the Barbarian will be more versatile. Right now, leveling up, they're pretty rough. In the mid-game speed farming, they're still really good because of Hoda and Whirlwind. In the end game, they're good with Hoda because of a bug, which is going to be fixed, which is going to really hurt when they lose it. But still, I'm optimistic for Barb going forward because of the way the class is structured and built. They're very tanky, they're very fast, the shouts are very powerful. And if they would just give us some damage here, I think they'll be just fine. Druid. So Druid right now, pound for pound, is one of the best classes. They're just so good. The Tornado Werewolf Druid might be the best build overall in the entire game, especially since Bone Spear is going to get nerfed. We'll get to that next. Pulverize is good. It just really suffers from single target. I played that leveling up. The Chase for the Tempest Roar is very tough. That helmet that you need to make the werewolf build work. Now you can target farm it in Helltide by farming the Helm chest, which is what everyone was doing yesterday, trying to get a Shaco until they nerfed it. They took that out. But you should be able to target farm it a little bit easier, and that will help a lot. Druids have a large amount of unstoppable, and actually they're very fast. They're like, I feel like I am a mount in the dungeons. So they're currently in a very good spot, but unfortunately, I think it's for really one legendary power that I just don't think is going to survive, and that's Rampaging Werebeast. The Rampaging Werebeast is a legendary power, which I believe gives you like 990 crit hit damage. There ain't no way Blizzard's going to let us keep a legendary power that gives us 990 crit hit damage, and it's used in a lot of builds. People are really liking the Shred build. Admittedly, I didn't play it. I've seen it. People really love it, so that's another alternative. The Bulwark build is going away. People always ask me about that. It just makes me roll my eyes. It's going away. Yes, it's unkillable, and it can clear Nightmare Dungeon 100, but I'm not here for these broken-ass builds that are going to be fixed already. I'm actually surprised Earth and Bulwark has survived this far. I'm a little worried about Druid's damage once they lose Rampaging Werebeast. If Blizzard is going to fix it. If they don't fix it, then Druids are going to be pumping for a long time. But anyway, it seems like more attention has been put into the Druid legendary powers and their uniques than a lot of the other classes. They make this, you start out as a human throwing tornadoes that don't path or do anything, and you finish as a werewolf using the Werebear ultimate, turning you into an ultimate werewolf that runs at the speed of light and has almost infinite resources, and the tornadoes that you summon home in on enemies, and they do a bajillion damage. It's like, well, that was all made possible by this intricate connecting of legendary powers and uniques. That philosophy to me is good. You really build like the entire structure of the character, and when you finally get that Tempest Roar drop, you finally get that Dire Wolf drop or the Rampaging Werebeast, and you put it all together, and then you make this brand new, this new character. I think you did a good job there. So Druid's Fate is probably going to be good going forward if the same designers are still working on it that built it at the start. They just have the most options. And by the way, I leveled up. I started as Tornado, and then I got the Pulverized Shockwave power at like level 30, and I switched. Both of them seem very strong. So I don't know if they like tweaked Tornado. Tornado already was the best like vanilla leveling build for Druids. But when I played it, it was actually very strong when you play it as a melee skill. So Druids weren't exactly the 17 damage Druid that I remember them from the beta. I think Necros are not in a great spot. Now the thing I hear all day long is, Rax, Bone Spear, you throw one Bone Spear, and with the Bone Spear and the Ricochet, it does like 60 million damage. It kills Lilith in 60 seconds, and it just crushes the entire game, and you said Necros are the worst. I gotta be honest with you. I pretty much have the same opinion. Nothing changed. I have a Bone Spear Necro. Here he is. Here's the thing. Yes, the Bone Spear has scaled out of control, and almost with 99% certainty, Blizzard is going to bring it back down to earth. It's just way stronger than anything else. I would encourage you, look at the rest of the class. How is it looking? Blood Mist is the most godly ultimate skill for Uber Lilith. It's amazing. You just keep skipping the waves. It's like Flame Shield for a Sorcerer. It's just an invulnerability. But that's your movement skill. Makes you slow, and you play the infamous build, which I think was really blown out of proportion. It's like a miasma corpse explosion thing, right? It's I don't know. To me, it's like a very bad version of Whirlwind. You run in, you miss, spin, kill him and move on, or you could just Whirlwind for 2 seconds and do the same thing. Or Tornado Druid does it even faster. I'm not really a believer in that. Haven't seen any blood builds that have moved me. The minion builds are only, like, there's a bug with Bone Prison. When they fix that, the minion builds are going to go way down, and their survivability is really bad. Corpse Tendrils, like they released a patch note that was fixing Corpse Tendrils, but Corpse Tendrils requires a corpse. Well, the whole point of Corpse Tendrils is to gather up the enemies, but in order to gather the enemies, you have to kill an enemy. And then you have to click the corpse accurately, and sometimes the corpses despawn. Sometimes Corpse Tendrils pixels them perfectly, and sometimes it doesn't. Necro survivability is not the highest in the game. Yeah, I don't know. Where are people coming up with the fact that Necros are gods? Because you're running around with a Bone Spear build, hitting everything for 60 million damage? Where exactly is the godly part about Necros? Curses? Decrep? That's the godly part? I think when Bone Spear is brought back down to earth, I think Necros need some help. I think they need some movement speed. I think some of their skills need to be a little bit easier to use. I think the minions need to be more viable in the end game, especially in terms of survivability. They don't need to run around and do 1,000,000 damage each, but you need to give us a reason to take them. This is the class that I just have a question mark about going forward. Rogues, man. Rogues are good. They're good at everything. Everything that I said that I thought would be bad about a rogue was wrong. I said that their survivability would be really bad. It really isn't. I said that rogues would be like really good for a pro, really good for really bad for a casual. Nope. You just run around at the speed of light, dash, shadow step, you twisting blade, you hit it correctly, you play it properly. You don't hit it correctly. You don't play it properly, the output is insane. They're good all the time. They're good from the beginning. They're good all the way to the end. They can clear. Nightmare Dungeon 100 is actually challenging for them. I think they don't have it as easy as some of the other classes, but it's been done. Uber Lilith, they're incredible. Even if you take away the nonsense with the bursting venoms, which is coming to light, even if you take that away, they've got multiple builds that can kill her. People are discovering that their bow builds aren't quite as bad as we thought they were. Maybe they're not at the level of like Twisting Blades, but they're doing pretty good. Rogues are just good. They feel good. Yeah, I mean, if they get anything in the patch, I think they're gonna be one of the best classes, if not the best class. With the current state of the game, if I'm racing 1 to 100, starting with nothing on a season start, I think your best chance to reach 100 first is on a rogue. They're just good at everything. Everything feels good, even their imbuements, their energy, their resources in the end game. Rogues just work. They just do. They feel great. If you haven't played a rogue, you should play one. Here we have Riker in a very elegant gown. I finally found everything by the time I finished my Sorcerer. I did Sorcerer last because, kind of like in Necro, I think Sorcerers are in a bad spot, but I think the Sorcerer kit is currently better than the Necros kit. Teleport is very strong. Frost Nova is very good. The problem is you're pigeonholed into taking Frost Nova all the time. Leveling up with Chain Lightning was no problem, as I thought it would be. I also respect Ice Shards during the leveling process. To try that out, it was very strong. I think probably the school of magic that's the most behind right now is Fire. I don't want to play Fire leveling up. Yeah, maybe you take the Fireball or the Firebolt enchantment slot, sure, but I don't want to play Fire leveling up. And Firewall is okay, but it's not great. Meteor is okay, but it's not great. And Hydra got nerfed into the ground. So I think Fire Sorcerers need a strong revisit here. There's a problem with Sorcerers, and Necro kind of has this problem that Rogue and Druid and Barb absolutely do not have. And I think the way that you approach solving this problem just goes back to Blizzard's philosophy on Diablo 4. What I need to do if I want to do damage on my Ice Shard Sorcerer is I need to teleport in, freeze them, and then do damage to them. That itself is not any kind of a rotation. That's fine. I have no problem deleting everything like that. But it becomes a problem when you start to do things like bosses, or when you start to do harder content, and you're fighting elites that don't die in one Frost Nova. And bringing back Frost Nova is very, very difficult. The sorcerers are very, very squishy. And because Frost Nova is required, it almost encourages like this melee playstyle. They're bringing the squishiest class into a melee playstyle in order to deal maximum damage, and it's dangerous, and you just die all the time. I think Blizzard needs to look at barbarians that are just whirlwinding or hammering or whatever the future is, rending or upheavaling, and they're looking at druids that just throw tornadoes or just pulverize. and you're looking at rogues that just Twisting Blade, or activate their imbue, Twisting Blade. And these guys are needing a lot of like setup. Like you throw a meteor, teleport in with the raiment, you stun them, then you freeze them, and then you attack. What's the philosophy here? Are you trying to slow down the gameplay and actually have a rotation? Because 3 of the classes are just plowing without it. And when you play a class that doesn't have a rotation, has the same output or a better output than the class that does have the rotation, it doesn't feel good. That's how I felt playing a sorcerer. I'm doing way more work and I'm squishier for no gain. At least if you want to keep it different. If you want sorcerer is that person, freeze, do all this, you have to have them burning and rooted. Fine, but I think their output has to go up. And I don't think the only way to apply vulnerable or to apply your freeze is to teleport in and use your Frost Nova, because that's very dangerous. How else can we do that? Yes, there are some other options currently in the game, but they aren't as good as the options that I listed. So this is how I felt playing them. I'm not exactly right. I didn't play every build. I don't have 1,000 hours on every class, but I did play them a lot. I tried to play the meta builds that a lot of people are playing so I can empathize with you on what you might be experiencing. So I think Barbs need some damage. Druids just need to recover from the rampaging werebeast nerf if that's coming. Necros I just think need some help. Like I would like corpse tendrils to work differently. Just make it easier on me. I'd like some buffs to minions. What are we gonna play when you nerf Bone Spear? Might be a critical red alert here. Rogues are just good, man. They're just good. I don't think you need any first aid on the rogue, really anywhere. I mean, they're just great. Maybe a little bit on the survivability in Nightmare Dungeon 100, but that's asking for a lot. Maybe a little bit on the bow builds, but not as bad as we thought. And sorcerers, I feel like I'm pressing a lot of buttons. I'm doing a lot of work. Yes, it can work. If I fired up my sorcerer right now, I pull a Nightmare Dungeon 50, I will annihilate it, and you'll think my sorcerer is a god. But he's not a god compared to some of the other classes. Trust me, I played them all to 100. Anyway, I need to stop talking. On the 18th, we're going to get a mega patch. These are the thoughts that I have going into that patch. As I read the patch notes, this is what I'm going to say. Okay, this build goes up. What happens specifically to this class? Okay, here are the 32 new superpowers. How does this solve these problems for these different classes? And maybe we'll come up with some brilliant combinations which will give us some godly builds in Season 1. Tomorrow, I'm starting solo self-found and hardcore. I think I'm going to start rogue because, again, rogues are just gods right now. And I'm going to get that perspective as well. And let's see how long it takes me to die. Maybe I'll die on the first quill rat. You never know. But for those of you that don't know me, I played hardcore in Diablo 3 for years. So I'm no stranger to hardcore. I'm not afraid of it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really care if I die. So let's get it done and let's see how it goes. Thanks for watching. Many more videos are coming. I'm excited for the 18th. Let's see what happens. Thank you.